Welcome to the deep dive. We've got something really unique to explore with you today. You shared a YouTube transcript from the channel Passion video called An Unexpected Letter.
Yeah, unexpected is definitely the word for it.
Right. And believe me, the title fits.
It certainly does. What we're looking at is this one-sided letter from Death himself writing to Jesus on the cross. And then we get Jesus' reply.
It's quite the setup.
It's a very unconventional, and pretty thought-provoking exchange. We're going to try and unpack it.
Thought-provoking is right. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to dissect these two, well, very different viewpoints. We want to understand the core arguments, what's actually being claimed, and, what that might mean for you listening.
It's not your everyday material, this dialogue between Death and Jesus, even metaphorically.
Definitely not.
No.
So, okay, let's start by unpacking Death's side of things,
Yeah.
his perspective.
Right, so Death's opening, addressing Jesus there on the cross. It's quite striking. It feels almost accusatory.
Yeah, accusatory, maybe a bit disappointed, even condemning in tone.
Exactly. Like he's watching Jesus and sort of saying, so this is how it ends for you. There's a hint
What
that
satisfaction, like, I told you so, maybe.
maybe, yeah. And then he just launches into this huge list of human sins and all the suffering.
Oh, yeah. It starts with, what was it, nagging selfishness right from the start of life.
And then it just keeps going. Cheating, backstabbing, greed.
A lack of compassion, that sense of entitlement, always chasing after more stuff. It paints a pretty bleak picture of us, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yep.
And the framing is important here. Death connects all this, attributes it somehow to the shame placed on Jesus.
Right, that's key.
And the list goes on, deeper things. Divorce, abandonment, deadbeat dads, the violence, gunshots, kids lying dead in the street.
It's brutal.
Yeah. Exploitation, insecure rage, pornographic addictions, jealousy, worshiping idols, this constant celebration of vanity. It's a heavy list.
A really comprehensive and frankly depressing inventory of human failings.
Definitely.
But here's a really crucial point, right? Death actually says, I realize these were not your doing. He admits it.
Yes. He explicitly says Jesus isn't the source of all this darkness.
But then, and this is where it gets kind of cynical, he follows up by saying he's actually happy for Jesus to take the blame anyway.
Exactly. It's incredibly self-serving. Death sees this situation, acknowledges Jesus isn't the root cause, but thinks, hey, this works out for me if everyone blames him.
Wow.
And that leads straight into Death's big question, the central challenge, really. He asks, what kind of person claims he can forgive the whole world? Who do you think you are?
It's a total taunt, like, look at you suffering. What gives you the right?
Precisely. Undermining any claim to authority Jesus might have in that moment.
Okay, so that's a pretty intense opening salvo from Death. How does Jesus respond to all that? To the accusations, to that fundamental question about who he is?
Well, interestingly, the response isn't immediate in the text. Jesus starts by acknowledging Death's letter, apologizes for taking a while to reply.
Oh, why the delay?
He says he had important work to finish, which suggests his perspective on what was happening on the cross was very different from Death's.
Okay. Implying the crucifixion itself was the work.
Could be. Then he tackles Death's question head on. Who do I think I am? I'll tell you who I am. No messing around.
And what follows isn't just a simple answer, is it? It's this whole cascade of powerful declarations.
Not simple at all. It's like a crescendo. He starts way back, establishing his existence before time itself. Eternity before history.
Okay, so setting the scale immediately.
Right. Then his role in creation, using these really potent images. Potter who spun the galaxies, the spirit over the deep, the one who tells mountains to migrate.
Wow.
Cloud of day, the fire of night. He's basically claiming to be the source of everything. Power, existence. What stands out to you there?
Just the sheer scope, like you said. It's like he's saying to Death, you're focused on this one moment, this one death, but you have zero idea who you're actually dealing with.
Exactly. Total reframing.
And then he uses that phrase, co-conspirator, behind the scandal of grace. That's really interesting wording. Scandal.
It is, isn't it? The scandal of grace. It refers to this idea that forgiveness, mercy, it's offered so freely, maybe even to people who seem like they don't deserve it. It seems almost unfair, outrageous by human standards.
So scandalous because it defies our usual sense of justice.
Kind of, yeah. And Jesus is claiming to be right at the heart of that radical generosity. Then he calls himself the keeper of the books.
Acknowledging the sins death listed, the debts.
Right, acknowledging the debts that line the pages of every generation. He sees them, he knows them.
But then comes that incredible image, stamping each and every one of them paid in full.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty definitive, isn't it? Directly addressing death's whole catalog of despair. It sounds like atonement.
Absolutely. A unilateral declaration. The debt's cleared. Done. And he keeps defining himself, holding these, like, opposing forces together. He's the just and furious wrath that makes hell look like a campfire.
Whoa.
But also the towering wave of mercy that can quench its thirsty flame.
So both ultimate justice and overwhelming mercy held in tension.
That's how it reads. He understands the weight of sin, the justification for wrath, but his mercy is presented as even bigger, capable of overcoming it.
Okay, and it continues with these amazing metaphors. The billowing storm of love.
Yeah, and the redeemer of wasted years.
That's powerful. The idea of making up for lost time, lost potential.
And being the welcome home to every prodigal son. It evokes complete restoration, second chances, no questions asked.
It's not just forgiveness, it's embrace, acceptance.
Totally. And I find the next bit really shifts the focus, makes it intensely personal. He says he's the voice in the ear of every young girl, whispering, I create you and you are created beautiful.
Ah, that brings it right down from the cosmic scale to the individual, affirming inherent worth amidst all that power.
Exactly. And then reinforcing his commitment.
Yeah.
Faithful even to the faithless.
Wow. That speaks volumes about the nature of his character, that it's unconditional.
It does. And then, bang, he pivots directly to confronting death's perceived power. My name is salvation. My name is power.
Okay, here it comes.
Even power over you.
He calls death out directly.
Right.
Claims supremacy, not just in general, but specifically over death itself.
No ambiguity there.
None. And he uses these really stark, forceful images to drive it home. The foot on your head, the spear in your side. It's imagery of dominance, of victory. It's a complete flip of the power dynamic death seemed to enjoy at the start watching Jesus on the cross.
A total reversal. And then Jesus claims ownership of the whole narrative, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says, I am the one author of this story. I am the one holding the pen.
Yeah, and I will block you out with a single stroke of my hand.
Talk about authority.
Ultimate authority. I will have the last word because I am the Word.
Okay. So that's the identity piece. How does he connect that back to death's initial view of the crucifixion as a defeat?
Well, this is the absolute pivot point. He tells death, on Friday, you aren't attending my funeral.
You are attending your.
Exactly. That's the core of it. The ultimate turning of the tables. What looked like Jesus' end was actually the beginning of death's undoing.
And he uses that image, the nails.
Yes. So powerful. The nails in his hands, the instruments of his suffering, he says they were actually nails being driven into death's own coffin.
So his suffering wasn't passive victimhood. It was the weapon that defeated death.
That's the claim. He wasn't just enduring it. He was wielding it, in a way. He declares, I am the victor, I am the master, I am the one who sets the captives free.
Liberation. That's the outcome.
Liberation from death's power. And the consequence for death is spelled out. His grip is broken.
Can't hold on anymore.
His fingers will be pried loose from people who call on Jesus' name. His entire work is declared null and void.
Wiped out.
And then that final resonant phrase, it is finished.
It echoes his words from the cross, but now in this context, it sounds like a declaration of victory over death itself.
Precisely. It seals the whole rebuttal.
Okay, wow. So putting these two letters, these two perspectives, side by side, the contrast is just stark, isn't it?
It really is. Death is completely fixated on human sin, on the brokenness, the suffering. He almost seems to wallow in it, using it as his evidence.
Yeah, finding a grim satisfaction in how pervasive it all is.
While Jesus, yes, he acknowledges the reality of that sin, the debts, he calls them, but his focus immediately shifts. It's all about his divine identity, his power, and crucially, his redemptive action.
His focus is on the solution, not just the problem.
Exactly. His capacity to conquer sin, conquer suffering, conquer death itself.
And it's fascinating how Jesus takes responsibility, but not in the way death implies. Death is like, good, you take the blame.
Right, a cynical offloading.
But Jesus claims responsibility by saying, effectively, I've paid for it. Stamping it, paid in full. It's active atonement versus passive blame-taking.
That's a great way to put it. He's not just accepting blame. He's claiming to have resolved the underlying issue entirely.
And all those declarations, the potter, the spirit, the wrath, the mercy, the redeemer, taken together, what do they ultimately paint a picture of?
They paint a picture of someone claiming, well, absolute and total authority. over creation, over history, over morality, over forgiveness, over life, and ultimately over death. There's no aspect left untouched.
And that scandal of grace idea available to the wicked and the righteous, that feels pretty significant too.
Oh, hugely. It emphasizes this universal accessibility. It's not about earning it, not about being good enough. It's presented as a radical, freely available offer.
Challenging our typical ideas of who deserves saving.
Definitely. And things like redeeming wasted years or the welcome home, they underline the restorative aspect. It's not just wiping a slate clean. It's about renewal, belonging, making things whole again.
Which is the opposite of death's narrative of decay and failure.
The complete opposite. And that power dynamic shift we talked about, it's just incredible. Death starts off looking down, almost pitying or mocking,
And ends up basically being told his power is gone, his work is meaningless.
rendered null and void. The very symbols of Jesus' apparent defeat the nails become the symbols of death's actual defeat. It's a total narrative takeover.
A dramatic reversal emphasizing that central claim. Jesus is asserting ultimate authority.
That's the core message hammered home in this exchange.
So we've taken this deep dive into, a truly unexpected exchange between death and Jesus from the source material.
We really have.
We've seen that stark contrast, death focusing on sin and judgment.
And Jesus focusing on his identity, his power, and his claimed act of redemption and victory.
We explored what it means for Jesus to take responsibility by paying the debt, the weight behind all those self-declarations.
Culminating in that final, powerful claim of triumph over death itself. It is finished.
So the question we want to leave you with as our listener is, what resonates most with you from this exchange, from this imagined dialogue?
Does it give you a new way to think about responsibility, maybe? Or forgiveness? Or what ultimate power might actually look like?
Yeah, we really encourage you to just sit with these contrasting claims, these powerful ideas, and consider what they might imply for your own understanding, your own perspective.
Definitely something to chew on.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.